My name's Martin Hale. I'm CEO of IT Masters. I'll explain who we are as we go through. I'm also an adjunct senior lecturer at Charles Sturt University. I'm the one on the left there in the suit. The chap on the far right is Dr. Irfan Altaz. He gets to wear that lovely hat because he is a doctor, and he is head of the School of Computing and Mathematics at Charles Sturt University. And in the middle of us, our first ever graduate from these programs, Scott Anderson, who graduated with a Master of Networking and System Administration. Here's the agenda. I think you'll find we'll cover most of what you want to on the way through. We've been running these for a number of years, and you get a pretty good idea of what people are interested in on the way through. All right, let's have a look at the target audience for these. In some ways, quite similar masters, but different. The Master of Information Systems Security is for really targeted at people sure, their main role is security, but also management. So they maybe manage a security function. They may have a dual role, pretty common, especially in smaller organizations. They've got security and management to do. The second Masters is full on cybersecurity. This is for the cybersecurity professional. As I'll cover, there's nothing like it in the industry that I've ever seen at any other university in terms of the how focused it is on cybersecurity and the breadth of what it covers. The course structure of both of those masters is 12 subjects. We have 6 what we call academic subjects. They're traditional subjects delivered from within the university, and then we have 6 industry-based subjects. This is one of the things that makes these masters unique. What do we mean by an industry-based subject? That is one that is based, generally based around an industry certification. In cybersecurity, things like CISSP, that's the most famous of them. There's CISM, Certified Information Systems, Information Security Manager. There's a whole range of different ones, ethical hacking. And you'll see those subjects as you go. So those subjects are based around those industry certifications. It's designed to help you prepare if you want to get the certifications. And if you've already got the certifications, you would be up for credit for those subjects. A lot of debate about the relative value, as always, of industry certifications. My only comment there is it certainly won't hurt you to have them on your resume. And in some cases, it's pretty important. A lot of management these days are using them as a bit of a risk mitigation to say, well, yes, my people are certified in cybersecurity. And it is a fairly objective way to prove at least you know the theory and the current practice. We don't run semesters because that would mean 2. We run 3 sessions per year, and the recommended load for working professionals, which by the way, all of our students are, who are trying to study part-time, is 2 subjects per session. So if you do the math there, it should take you about 2 years to complete your masters. And there's a chap there, the absolute critical additive in all of this is cups of coffee while you're studying. Or maybe Charles Sturt wine as you go through, especially if you win the wine pack. Okay, the 2 masters is the first one, Master of Information Systems Security, first launched in 2006. Had a slow start. We have a saying, used to have a saying that cybersecurity in education is what everyone talks about, but no one ever enrolls in. Well, boy, has that changed in the last couple of years particularly. But we launched this in 2006 and it was a bit slow, but it took off. Today, this and the Master of Cyber absolutely dominate enrollments. It's just the numbers are coming through amazing. We're seeing a real bubble in demand in the industry for it. So there's your core subjects. There's a mixture of cybersecurity. Then you've got some more business type ones like MGI 521, professional communications. Excuse me. And then even a subject on IT ethics, which is pretty important in cybersecurity as well. Then they're your core subjects. Remember I said there's 12 subjects. You've got 6 core there. So you've obviously got another 6 to do. And you pick from 2 pools of electives there. There's one one is academic, what we call academic. There's a mixture of subjects here. You pick 3 from those. And then you've got these industry certification-based subjects, which, by the way, are delivered by industry-based experts. So these are people working in cybersecurity. Just about all alumni these days, they're working in cybersecurity roles during the day, and then they come home and pass on their experience and knowledge to you at night during webinars. I think in the email we sent out, there's some of the things that are unique about these masters, and one of the things is the breadth of cybersecurity content that we're covering there. And have a look at the pool of electives there, you'll see that. And then the newer one, we launched at, when was it launched, Holly? Early this year. Yeah, we launched, yes, beginning of this year. Had a fantastic response. You're always worried when you're doing new things. It all sounds good, but whether you're going to see them. But we had fantastic response to the Master of Cybersecurity. And why wouldn't you? Have a look at the content there. It is full on cybersecurity. I actually wanted to call it a Master of Applied Cybersecurity, but I was voted down. But it is very applied here. This is not a master's with a whole lot of filler in it, other subjects. You're just studying cybersecurity all the way through there. And as I said, lots of cybersecurity-based, industry certification-based. That's not to say, I mean, in the electives, there's some other non-cybersecurity you can do, and there's actually other subjects you can pick from as well. But if you want to, and I particularly if this is an industry that you're looking to get ahead in, I'd suggest you aim to do all cybersecurity, because it'll be that much more attractive on your resume. Just one subject there that may not look like cybersecurity, but actually is if you look down the bottom of the core subjects, there's ICT 571, Emerging Technologies. That is a mini research, what we call a capstone. You do it near the end, and its purpose is to teach you about research. In this case, you'd definitely be researching a cybersecurity topic, though, because that's the master's you're doing. So, as I say, it is still the idea there is you might want to go on and do your doctorate. This is a chance for you to have a go at research and see what you think about it, whether that might be suitable for you or not. Got lots, by the way, I mentioned that it's dominated our IT research. We've got a very large IT research cohort doing doctorates at Charles Sturt. Well, cybersecurity dominates that these days. Just have a look at a couple of example subjects here. This is not an industry certification based one, so we'll start with one of those, ICT 593, network security. Launched, we could talk about the objectives and look at the topics, but I always say, show me the assessments. That's a good way to look at a subject. In this case, we've got 4 different assessments. Worth different percentage. The percentages aren't there, but I think the final exam is worth 40 or 50%. So that's the big one. But all the others are, the first one there, multiple choice, would be a small 10 or 15%. So it's just a multi-choice done very early in the semester, the session, just to see how you're going, particularly if you're struggling with this. This will highlight and depending on how you're going. By the way, the dragons there, that's because Holly's obsessed with dragons, so it's got nothing to do with the topic, but it doesn't matter. Here's another dragon. I warned you. And there's the logo for the CISSP. If you're anything to do with cybersecurity, you'll know this is the #1 industry certification. It's very difficult, by the way. 6-7 hour exam, real tough. And you need to have a bit of industry experience under your belt. But we built a subject around it. So we use their core body of knowledge, which they publish for cybersecurity. So that makes sure we're covering the very latest in terms of industry frameworks. And while you're actually doing the subject, it helps you prepare for this certification. Up to you whether you go and do it, but I strongly suggest you think about it. You should get some industry certifications on your resume as well. And again, if you've already got the certification, you would be up for credit for that subject, so you wouldn't be required to do it. Here's a more industry-based one. It's actually a networking-based one, but to give you an example anyway, that's based on an AWS certification. Just some background stuff now. We're about IT Masters. I think I said I'll talk to you about what IT Masters come from. Well, we first approached Charles Sturt in 2002 with the concept of embedding industry certification within a university qualification. At the time, they were quite separate. And the big ones are things like Microsoft Systems Engineer, certainly in those days, the Cisco ones, and CSSP was big as it still is today. So rather than doing them separately, the concept was, why don't we bed them within the master degree? And that's what we launched with Microsoft-based MCSE, a Master of Networking and System Administration. The preparation for the industry certifications were part of it. And just as importantly, if you have the certifications, you would be up for credit for it. So that was part of the whole accreditation process. Had a fantastic response. We hope for 40 as the first intake. A week out from closing date, we had a few, and it wasn't looking too promising. We had 242 applications in the last week. So typical IT thing, they leave it to the last minute. Our admissions people were very, very busy. What does IT Masters do? We've got 3 roles. We market the Masters. That's what I'm doing here. We're telling you all the good things. Second part, which I actually enjoy more, research and identify opportunities for further expansion. The Master of Cybersecurity was a good example of that. We got a lot of feedback from the industry and alumni about a really focused, dedicated cybersecurity Masters. I mean, the good news for us is we already had a lot of cybersecurity subjects because of the Master of IS Security. So it allowed us to really build, as I said, what is quite unique of you. I think if you have a look around at other unis, you won't see anything like that focus on cybersecurity. Another example of that is where the current one we're looking at is bringing a whole dedicated subject on penetration testing for next year. So we'll be testing that market, doing some market testing this year. We've got one of our alumni, he's actually ex-CISO at TPG, and he suggested that we have a good look at penetration testing. It is covered in some of the other subjects, but he feels we need a really hands-on, dedicated penetration testing subject. So it looks like we'll do that for next year. And our third role is we support students studying their industry certification-based subjects. So those subjects I mentioned, like the CISSP-based one, we would work with our alumni on building it and the industry. And then as it's delivered, it uses all the university systems and processes, but we actually find the industry-based lecturers for it and manage them. Just some quick marketing stuff. Why might you choose to study with Charles Sturt? Well, if you're going to do distance ed, and a lot of people in IT have to because they travel a lot and they're really a bit of a struggle to get to a classroom. Charles Sturt University dominates that field and has for many years. And if you're going to study IT, good idea to have a look at Charles Sturt as well. Again, we've come to dominate, and this is growing every year now, come to dominate that field, and a big chunk of that is cybersecurity. It's such a hot area, as I've mentioned a couple of times. What's the study load look like? Depends on your experience level. Now, obviously, if you're doing the CISSP subject, for instance, and you've got a big cybersecurity background, you're not going to have to put it anywhere near the work as someone who's fairly new to the field. So, but as a guideline, I'm required to say 6 to 12 hours per week per subject. The recommended load for working professionals is 2 subjects at a time. But that's a bit high. In talking to graduates, it's probably more like 6 to 8 or 6 to 10. In just a matter there of the key part there is getting into a regular study pattern, but a typical one from talking to graduates is 1 or 2 nights a week and a day on the weekend every now and again. Would generally keep you might do more as assignments become due. But if that all gets too much, definitely okay to drop back to one subject or take leave. You just send us a email. Fees and charges, $3,200, $3,250 per subject. There's up to 12 subjects depending on what credit you might get. They're due at the beginning of each study session. If it's relevant to your career, they're tax deductible. I mean, you might have some accountants tell you they're not, but that's not correct. This is full fee postgraduate, and it is tax deductible, as I said, providing it's relevant to career. It includes everything you need. But also keep in mind, all universities have got a bit of a get out stakes here. For any study session, you've got up to 4 weeks into it to pull out and not have to pay. What you do is you keep your books normally and come back and do the subjects next time it's offered. We'll be warned of that as census comes up, and so you might be studying 2 subjects and getting a bit behind. Providing you do it before census, you can pull out. And how do you pay for it? Well, just about every Australian citizen uses fee help. It'd be a bit silly not to. It's a government study loan, interest-free, but indexed for CPI, which is not much these days. Covers all your fees. Just a word of warning there again for your accountant in case you're talking to them. The undergraduate study loan does not apply. They get confused, some of them, about it. This is postgraduate full fee, so there is no loan fee. And repayments start at about 50K, which most people in the IT industry have got to be on. What do you need to get in? You normally have a bachelor's degree to do a master's degree, but lots and lots of people in the IT industry without those and with lots of experience. So we have an industry experience pathway as well. 3 years experience, 2 to 3 years of industry experience will get you in via what we call a graduate certificate pathway, which is, this is the pathway for people without a degree normally. They do the graduate certificate, which is 4 subjects. But the good news about it is there's no downside to this actually. It is 4 subjects from your master's that you would do normally. It's a fully accredited postgraduate qualification. So you do that, your first 4 subjects. And then you get full credit, providing you pass, of course, into your master's. So you've actually end up with 2 qualifications instead of 1. And potentially you can graduate in only 8 months and take your graduate certificate, maybe come back later on and finish your master's on. But a lot of people roll on and just continue do their whole. There's actually a good way to do it anyway, even if you're going to do your master's, start with your graduate certificate, because with your graduate certificate, you become alumni at the university and you get a 10% discount on the rest of your studies. So there's no downside, and there's actually a good reason just to do it that way anyway. Credit. Credit is available for industry certification. So you might be sitting there and you've got your CISMs or most of the mainstream certifications we recognise, providing they're relevant, obviously. So you've got your CISSP or ethical hacking from the EC Council, even some of the networking certifications you would get for credit for that subject. A second way you can get credit is if you've done some previous academic at a postgraduate level, it's got to be. So you might have started a master's at another uni, for instance, and for whatever reason, not continued on with it, providing there's a good match between a subject and some of the subjects in the master's you want to do, you would be up for credit. And the third way, which is fairly new, you can do 3 of our short courses, providing you pass them. These are 4 to 5 week courses that are designed to give you a bit of a taste for what it's like to study with Charles Sturt. And they have a multi-choice exam at the end. Providing you can do 3 of them, you would be up for credit. Only 1 subject credit, that's the maximum you can get for that though. The maximum total credit available is up to 50%. So 12 subjects, and we do get quite a few people get 5 or 6 subjects of credit, got lots of industry certifications. You could get up to 50% credit. How do you find out about that? Well, just go up on the IT Masters website, spend 5 minutes and fill out the Am I Eligible form. It'll ask you what your previous studies were and what certifications, if any, you've got, and then we'll come back and confirm A, you can get in, and B, this is the level of credit that looks like you're up for, and all that can be confirmed before you start. By the way, just a word on credit, you can claim credit at any time up to graduation. So you might be studying for your CISSP, you might have been on training already and you intend to get it. Well, you can claim that credit, just go and pass your CISSP exam and get credit right up to graduation. Just a final thing about return on investment. What is a uni degree worth? A number of people ask me this when we used to run face-to-face ones, particularly people you ask. So, well, you know, I'm going to do this. What is it worth? And I say, oh, you're going to learn a lot. And they say, yeah, okay, but what about dollars? Well, did some searching around, and I think the best source here is the census data. In the census data, you're required to put down what your job is, what your qualifications are, and how much money you're earning. So what I did was we grabbed that from the last census, and we pulled out those categories there. Some of them are a compilation, like system admin, DBAs, network engineering, security are in together. And then it worked out how much they were being paid if they've got no uni qualifications, how much they're getting paid if they have, and over a 25-year degree career, what would that be worth in total? Just who do you reckon would earn the most there if you look down those categories? I'm going to bring it up in a minute. And by the way, I didn't break out the one that's really growing, not surprising here, is security. The numbers are just going through the roof, and also their wages are going through the roof. But they were a bit small in the previous census, but you can see because of the census before how quickly they're growing. I think the next census is going to show a massive wage rise there. It's a supply and demand thing. Everyone's struggling to find people. There's the numbers though, as they were in the last census. So if you said IT managers get the big bucks, you'd be right. Closely followed by IT project managers. I didn't break cybersecurity out, but it was about 106, 105,000, but there'd been a huge growth in their wages from the last census. So I'll be fascinated to see what it looks like in the next one, both in terms of how many people are working in that sector and how much they're being paid. But anyway, if you look across the different sectors, you'll see the difference in how much they earn, multiplied by 25. And I mean, rightly or wrongly, a degree never dates. You can keep using it on your resume, and that's what the difference would be, which would say it'd be one of the best return on investment you'd ever get in terms of the investment in study. A question there, I always wondered if I ever did the research into is find out why is there such a difference in what they're earning. 3 possibles that people have brought up is it's because of what they learned. I think definitely a one is what I call the HR filter effect there. I saw this in Telstra when I was there. I went for my first exec role, and I didn't even get shortlisted. I couldn't believe it. And I learnt later on I didn't have a degree. And they were shortlisting, and they do base it on that, especially senior roles, rightly or wrongly. They want to see that degree on your list. By the way, I then promptly started a master's and applied 6 months later and got it because I just put in progress. So there's a tip for you: just put in progress, especially in the way the cybersecurity industry is these days. Is no need to wait till you finished your degree. Just get started, get a few subjects under your belt, and start and put in progress. It's a great talking point, I found, at interview, just to discuss what you're studying, and at the same time make it clear to them that you're doing this off your own bat and in your own time. And the other possible one is maybe they're the most motivated. I mean, this is not a trivial thing. This is not like going on a 5-day training course. We're talking 2 years of study. Some of it's going to be a grind, and you need to be fairly motivated to do it. So maybe maybe there's another reason why they're earning more that we haven't identified yet. Okay, when can you start? The next application deadline is 29th of June, which is, but we'll take them a couple of days later than that, and you would start studying 9th of July. Plus we have another 4 intakes during the, but all that, especially with cybersecurity, the way the industry is currently, I would seriously think about starting, if I had the ability, get started and get it on your resume, as I said, because who knows how long this is going to last for. Good idea to get in at the beginning while the industry is evolving and growing so rapidly. Okay, if you've got any further questions, you can type them. I hear Holly's typing away furiously, so people are obviously, there's a lot of competition going on for the wine here by the looks of it. Is just email it to us, or lo and behold, you could ring up. Don't get many people ring anymore, but we get thousands of emails every day, so don't hesitate. Just whatever, no such thing as a silly question. And all I say is, and I really mean this, is I haven't seen since the .com bubble employment growth in any sector of the IT industry like we're seeing in cybersecurity. We're seeing people time and time again getting partway through their masters here and getting promotions. We've even seen it come through with no background in it and managed to get jobs in cybersecurity, and it just an absolute bubble of demand. So have a think about getting started, if not with us, with someone else. Have a good look around. It's an important decision. I would say you wouldn't find another master's in the industry like we've got, but have a good look anyway, and good luck with your studies, whatever you do, and love to see you at graduation one day. Thanks very much. I'll leave it open. You can keep asking your questions as you go through.